Hello and welcome. I am Eric Njoka and this is a Tuesday edition of Race to Power with your daily dose of politics and elections. Here's what's coming up in the next 30 minutes. Team Biden is now in damage control mode. The US president's team is aggressively seeking to dismiss calls for him to step aside following the dismal debate performance. And money is now being seen as a big factor. The debate day on June 28th turned out to be the best grassroots fundraising day ever. The blue camp is worried about big-ticket financiers and wealthy benefactors who will be critical to the incumbent leader's chances of securing a second term in office. And in France, the far-right national rally led the first round of the French parliamentary elections last Sunday. But with another round to go, what are the options for the other blocs? The national rally's opponents are scrambling to keep the far-right from obtaining an absolute majority in the National Assembly. To do this, the left-wing coalition, known as the New Popular Front, says it would withdraw its candidates in districts where they finished third to support other stronger candidates opposed to the national rally. Will this tactic work? We'll have to wait and see. It has been days now, but Joe Biden's performance at the first presidential debate is still garnering attention and mixed reactions. Amid all the criticism, Joe Biden's team has now released a new campaign advertisement called I Know. Both Donald Trump and Joe Biden left no stone unturned in their June 27th presidential debate, clashing over immigration, economy, abortion, 2021 Capitol riots, and even golf. From Trump's overstatements to Biden's faltering speech, millions of Americans were glued to the biggest bout of the season on their TVs, with critics within Biden's party raising questions about his poor performance and ability to lead the United States on the global stage. Team Biden is now in damage control. They have released an advertisement targeting Trump's debate performance. The advertisement doesn't show President Biden's fumbling and halting performance. It focuses instead on his energetic appearance at a rally the next day in North Carolina, where Biden acknowledges that he is not a young man, but knows how to do the job right. According to Biden's campaign, the 60-second advertisement titled I Know will air on television and on digital platforms in the battleground state and will reportedly target a younger and more diverse audience.
I know how to do this job. I know right from wrong. I know how to tell the truth. And I know, like millions of Americans know, when you get knocked down, you get back up. I'm Joe Biden, and I approve this message.
With the stakes running high ahead of November 5th U.S. presidential elections, Team Biden is aggressively seeking to dismiss calls for him to step aside following the dismal debate performance. But it seems to be an uphill task for the blue camp to convince big backers. In the past couple of days, there has been a lot of buzz and reports on mixed reactions from the Democrats' donors. As per some officials of the Biden campaign, the team raked in more than $33 million on Biden's name. To quote the officials, the debate day on June 28th turned out to be the best grassroots fundraising day ever. But most of this money is from small donors, especially Biden's vote bank. The blue chip, or the blue camp, is worried about big-ticket financiers and wealthy benefactors who will be critical to the incumbent leader's chances of securing a second term in office. These millionaire and billionaire backers are still undecided in terms of their next move, in terms of whether they want Biden to stay on as the Democrats' presidential candidate or do they want him out. Given the hesitation and rising concern amid voters as well, reports reveal that the Democratic National Committee is mulling over a move to formally nominate Biden as the presidential candidate as early as mid-July. Adele Nazarian is a senior media fellow at Gold Institute for International Strategy. She's now joining us live from Washington, D.C. Adele, good to see you and welcome to the show. Should the Democrats be worried now? We've seen what happened in the debates. They are worried about what happened in the debate, but they are now showing Americans that they have a stronger face. Even Joe Biden saying, I know I'm not young, but I can do the job.
Eric, great to be on with you again. I think it's shown us time and again that when you're wrong, lying is the way forward. Double down, triple down. That seems to be the strategy of the Democratic Party, particularly in light of the negative performance of President Biden during the last presidential debate. I think that they know they're in trouble. I think that they know that Trump has clearly, whatever the polls were showing before, which clearly showed Trump having a lead in the polls leading up to the debate. After this last performance at the debate by President Biden, Trump clearly has taken a significant lead again. And what they're doing is just trying to calm everyone. And the reality remains, unfortunately, it does not seem promising for President Biden going into November.
Adele, let's talk about what happened yesterday, and that's the partial immunity verdict against Donald Trump. Will this have any impact in the elections?
I think any case of this nature, it's so unprecedented to be brought on a former sitting president who is running for office again and has such popular support among at least half the country. I think what we're seeing is definitely going to have some sort of an impact. The thing here is the media has been so blatantly anti-Trump and biased in their coverage of him that when the rulings do come out like this, it actually benefits Trump. It actually stands to hurt the actual standing of the judicial process, according to the American public. And so I think that while it's not a very, favorable situation for anyone who's running for office, let alone anyone, period, to go through, I think that in this particular case, it could have more of a positive impact on Trump, especially considering the performance during the debates.
Adele, finally, and very quickly, what's your one message to the Democrats?
That's a great, thank you for that. Look, I think August, everyone knows it's coming up. It's a Democratic convention where they will select the nominee for president officially. I think that they have to really think long and hard. Do they want to go through with it and to continue having President Biden be the nominee? Although it's abuse, honestly, it's elder abuse to have him go through this condition he's in and go through when another 4 years seems futile. The other question remains, do you want to replace him with someone like, let's say, Michelle Obama or Gavin Newsom? I don't know that there's enough time for them to really make that kind of a switch. And then you have Kamala Harris, vice president, in the picture. You can't just get rid of her. She obviously is the next in line, although she's not very popular and probably wouldn't win an election, frankly, if she was then boosted up to the position of presidential nominee. So I think it's time for the Democrats to be honest with themselves. I know that, Vice President Kamala Harris put out a tweet saying Joe Biden won the debate on Tuesday, won the debate that just occurred. Like a lot of other people, just have a reckoning with yourselves. Just be truthful with yourselves and embrace the fact that this may very well not be a victory and try to regroup. So I think their best case scenario is to go ahead, unfortunately, and to go stick with Biden going into this and do whatever damage control they can do. But I think honesty is the best policy. The American people are not stupid. That's what I have to say. The American people are not stupid, and just take that into account going into November.
All right. Adele Nazarian, thank you for talking to us today on WION World is One.
Thank you.
All eyes are now on the second round of elections in France after the far-right Le Pen party secured a substantial lead in the first round on June 30th. Out of a total 577 constituencies, voting will be held for 501 parliamentary seats in the second round. Here's what the outcome looks like following round one. Le Pen's RN party led the mandate, securing over 33% of the vote share. The New Popular Front, an alliance of centre-left socialists, Greens and far-left parties, placed second with 28.14%. Trailing at the third place is Emmanuel Macron's centrist alliance, which secured just 20% vote share. In terms of the electoral process, 76 candidates secured a clear win in the first round of elections itself. 39 of these 76 belong to Le Pen's far-right party. The re-elected lawmakers, along with RN leaders Marine Le Pen and Jordan Bardella, arrived at the RN headquarters for a meeting early in the day. Following the first round's outcome, Macron and leaders of the extreme left have ramped up their efforts, urging candidates and voters to stop the far right from obtaining a majority in the decisive vote on July 7th. In the latest twist to the political battle in France, at least 200 candidates have stepped down ahead of the runoff election in a bid to stop the surge of the far right. As per reports, the rivals are hoping that tactical withdrawals will prevent the National Rally Party from securing an absolute majority of 289 seats.
Merci.
French overseas territories are also queuing up to cast their ballot in the parliamentary elections. Among them is New Caledonia, a region that has been marred with violence and protests since May. Voters in New Caledonia have cast a record number of proxy votes in the first round of France's parliamentary elections. According to the French Territorial High Commission, over 222,000 voters were registered in the first round on the island. The voter turnout on June 30th crossed 60.02%.
I'm queuing like everyone else to do my proxy because already won the first round. I did the proxy and I am one of all the people who have. Not all the proxies went through. So I had a call from my father this morning saying that my proxy hadn't gone through. So I have to go back and stand in the queue like everyone else for the second proxy.
In the aftermath of tensions over a controversial voting eligibility law, the pro-independence party in France's overseas territory has called on people to mobilize for the second round of the snap elections. Lawmakers from the archipelago are putting up a fight to secure the 2 seats in the French National Assembly.
This is an opportunity for us to express our discontent, which began on 13th May at the ballot box. On May 13, it was discontent on the ground, and right now it's discontent that we are going to express at the ballot box.
Iran's presidential candidates tangled on topics including foreign policy and economic reforms in a debate. The head-to-head debate took place just days before the 2 men who face each other in a runoff election on July 5th. Saeed Jalili, a loyalist of Iran's supreme leader, locked horns with his moderate opponent, Masoud Pezeshkian. Discussing foreign policy, Jalili criticized Iran's focus on the 3 world powers. He lambasted the general outlook that the situation of Iran won't improve if the country does not negotiate with the West.
Today they are confessing themselves. The spokesman of the Foreign Ministry of America has said himself that they have endured a great failure with this imposing sanctions. But apparently we say no, it was not a failure for them. And the American side was the one who did not want the plan to work out.
Pezeshkian emphasized the importance of expanding Iran's international ties. He underscored how the Iranians are facing difficulties in getting visas.
What did we do that the world is like this with us? The neighbors, even for example, why doesn't Turkey give us our money? Why doesn't China give us back our dollars? Why does it give us any product that might not be useful? Why doesn't it complete the contract of 25 years? It should comply with it, right? We have set the contract there already. There were supposed to be investments, but they will not happen.
Pezeshkian won the first round of the presidential race with 42.5% of the votes, followed by Jalili, who got 38.8%. Since none of the candidates secured 50+1 of the votes, they head to a second round. This is only the second time since the 1979 revolution that a presidential election has gone to a runoff. The candidate with the highest number of votes will be declared winner and will succeed Ibrahim Raisi as the president of Iran. Raisi died in a helicopter crash earlier this year. In just 4 months, Nepal is likely to see a new prime minister after Pushpa Kamal Dahal-led government collapsed. Reports say CPN-UML has now taken the call to end its association with CPN-MC and join hands with the Nepali Congress. Tensions between CPN-UML and CPN-MC started to emerge following the recent 2024-2025 budget. KP Sharma Oli had publicly criticized the budget allocation. The CPN-UML and the Nepali Congress have been in talks for months and have finally reached an understanding. A 4-member task force has prepared an agreement which is likely to be released today. It will detail power sharing. Reports say Oli has been offered the prime ministerial post and is most likely to take the oath of office today. However, Nepal Prime Minister Pushpa Kamal Dahal has decided to face the vote of confidence and not resign. Secretary of the CPN Maoist Centre, Devendra Podel, said that the Prime Minister Prachanda would take the floor test and not step down from the post. The office bearers meeting also has decided to support the decision of Prime Minister, for which talks will be held with various parties including the RSP, Nepali Congress and even the CPN-UML and move forward. And for the latest on this, our correspondent Saloni Murarka has sent us this report.
Nepal is yet again seeing a new coalition government. This time the two coalition partners, CPN-UML and CPN-Maoist, have decided to part ways. The largest communist party, CPN-UML, is now joining hands with Nepali Congress. Both the sides have agreed on a power sharing deal and the further economic and foreign policies. Now both the sides are holding their respective meetings with their party leaders to decide on the further course of actions. While the CPN-UML will be taking on the 9 ministerial portfolios and Congress will be taking on the 10 ministerial portfolios, including Home and Foreign Ministry. This also comes at a point when the differences started to surface between Oli and Prachanda. Now Pushpa Kamal Dahal has said that he will not resign from his position and would rather face a vote of confidence in the parliament. Saloni Murarka for WION World is One in Kathmandu, Nepal.
After days of talks and dramatic twists following South Africa's election mandate, the new government has finally announced the coalition cabinet. But the unity government has received a, quote, cautiously optimistic reaction from people as hopes of change remain low, but fear of political instability remain high. Here's a report.
The following appointments to the executive.
South African President Cyril Ramaphosa has announced his new coalition cabinet, including a job for the leader of what was the largest opposition party, the Democratic Alliance.
The Minister of Agriculture is John Steenhuisen.
Hello, how are you doing?
Ramaphosa's African National Congress was forced to join with rival parties to stay in power after losing its parliamentary majority for the first time in 3 decades in a May 29th election. And Sunday's announcement has followed weeks of protracted and at times acrimonious negotiations. Political analyst and former South African diplomat Melanie Verwoerd said what had emerged was a major shake-up with very few of the old faces still in there.
John Steenhuisen in agriculture, I don't know what he knows about agriculture apart from that you buy chickens in supermarkets. But I do understand why the DA fought for that. I think it's because they want to get some of the Freedom Front voters. That's one of the few growth points still for the DA.
Freedom Front is a smaller party with its base in white Afrikaans-speaking voters. The markets, which had welcomed inclusion of the business-friendly DA in South Africa's coalition government, responded favourably to the new cabinet. South African assets rose sharply on Monday. Some investors, however, said the gains were likely short-lived, as it would take time for the new government's agenda and performance to become clear. The reaction on the streets of Johannesburg was more mixed. While some welcomed the diverse and inclusive makeup of the executive, others, like Gomalema Utemeleng, questioned the mix of different people with different philosophies.
I'm not really confident about it, but then they say the people of South Africa have spoken. Is that what they say they wanted? That's my question. I don't really support it fully, but hey, what can we do? Because at this point, I feel like we've spoken, but we're not being listened to.
Alongside the DA, Ramaphosa has made space for 5 other coalition parties in his cabinet. But now that the wrangling over portfolios is over, the government faces the more daunting task of governing. That's in the face of a struggling economy, crumbling roads and power stations, and high unemployment. Whether the coalition of former enemies can improve on the ANC's record may depend, analysts have said, on the extent to which they can set aside their ideological differences.
Less than 48 hours to the high-octane UK elections amid declining popularity of the Tory camp, UK's Prime Minister Rishi Sunak is pulling out all stops to garner support from Britons. The incumbent leader was seen hopping from factories to distribution facilities in a last-ditch effort. Take a look.
On Thursday, it's not a by-election, it's not a referendum about the past, it's a really important choice about our future as a country.
American Joker, thank you very much for watching this edition of Race to Power on WION The World is One. Stay with us.
Iranians have spoken for now. 24.5 million voters have given no one a clear mandate.
There is no clear winner under the laws.
A face-off is set between reformist Pezeshkian and conservative Jalili.
The second round is all set to be held coming Friday.
We have the second round of the presidential election. The first is Pezeshkian, Mr. Pezeshkian, and the second is Mr. Jalili.
The person who emerges victorious in the runoff voting, which takes place on July 5th, will become the president.